The Box Elder Bees look forward to the 1991 season with great excitement. This was a new season with a new coaching staff, a new offensive style, and new dreams. In 1990, the Bees had placed fourth in the region, but they had high hopes that they were on their way up. And it was true. This was the year the Box Elder would turn their program into something very memorable. A year based partly on hopes and dreams, but based mainly on hard work and dedication.
Just to stay alive, 'cause the heat is on. Caught up in the action, I'm looking out for you. Tell me, can you feel it? Tell me, can you feel it? Tell me, can you feel it? The heat is on. The heat is on. The heat is on. Oh, it's on the street. The heat is on.
He's got an opening. He could go all the way. He's got one man to beat. He's turning it on. And he got a touchdown. He goes into the end zone. Oh, Stewart, he hurdles a man. He needs a block. He waits for it. He's got a touchdown if he beats one guy. And he's going to miss him. And goes Stewart. Another touchdown.
That's a
by
fantastic
Stewart.
setting up his block again.
The heat is on. Yeah. The heat is on. The heat is on. Burning, burning, burning. It's on the street. The heat is on. The shadows hide on the darker side. Behind the door.
The Bees opened their season against Cedar City, and they had a simple list of goals when the game began. The list had only one item of importance: win the game. And win they did. Box Elder was young offensively as they tried to get comfortable with their new style of play, but they still managed to put together 250 yards of offense while taking the ball away from the Redmen on 7 different occasions. The defensive play of the Bees was outstanding as they allowed Cedar only 140 total yards during the game. Coach Roesler and his young team had accomplished their first major goal of the season. They had begun with a win. Now they needed to continue to develop the intensity and commitment which is the hallmark of all great teams. The Cedar City victory was the first building block as they laid the foundation for a great season.
The heat is on. The heat is on. Burning, burning, burning. It's on the street. The heat is on. I can feel the fire. The heat is on. Oh, flames are burning high. The heat is on. Baby, can't you feel it? It's on the street. The heat is on.
When the powerful Bruins of Mountain View came to town in Week 2, the Bees knew they were in for a challenge, but they were anxious to show that their first win was not a fluke. This was a team with heart and desire, and they went head-to-head with Mountain View. The Bruins began with a 70-yard drive that hammered away at Box Elder's defense, but just when it appeared that they would score, Matt Maddox picked up a fumble on the Bees' 5-yard line and scampered 95 yards for Box Elder's first TD. Mountain View's first score came off a Box Elder fumble and was on a drive of only 37 yards as the Bees' defense stepped in to shut down the physical 4A opponents for most of the game. Although Box Elder was still struggling to put their offense together, they did manage a great defensive day. Whenever Mountain View got within the 25-yard line, the Bees' defense stopped them cold. Some onlookers who knew the history of both programs anticipated a blowout by Mountain View. These folks didn't understand the commitment of the young Bees and their desire to become great. When the gun sounded, Box Elder had suffered their first loss of the year by a score of 13-7, but they had demonstrated to everyone that they would not back away from a challenge. This was a team that had to be reckoned with. In Week 3, Box Elder faced their first region opponent in the Grizzlies from Logan. The 1-1 Bees knew that this game was critical to their success, as a region loss this early could be devastating. But they were not worried about losing. This was a team that always came loaded for bear, and this time the offense was in full gear and they did their part. Early in the game, Logan picked at the Box Elder defense with short outside passes. To stop that, the Bees began to blitz, and the blitz did the job. Once the short passes were stopped, the Grizzlies were not able to mount an offensive threat again. But by that time, Box Elder trailed by 1 point and time was running out. On a 4th and long play, the Bees tried to run their halfback pass, but things don't always work out as you plan. Instead of receiving the ball on a pitch out, Berto Rodriguez grabbed the ball when it was fumbled backwards and scrambled away from all of the action for a 45-yard pickup down to the 3-yard line. Joe Stewart then found Steve Graves in the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. The drive, besides being spectacular, had used 13 plays and eaten up most of the fourth quarter. The defense was once again outstanding as they logged 5 quarterback sacks. Steve Gailey and Tom Siddle kept pressure on Logan's quarterback all day to stop the Grizzlies' offensive threat. And now, with their first region win under their belts, the 2-1 Bees look forward to one of the most powerful 3A teams as they looked to Mountain Crest. The loss to Mountain Crest, while disappointing, was not all a negative experience for Box Elder. It always hurts to lose, but the Bees were a team that was learning as they went, and Mountain Crest showed them the intensity that must be there if you want to become a champion. The defensive pressure Mountain Crest put on the Box Elder offensive line motivated the young men to a higher degree of preparation for future opponents. And although it did not help them to beat Mountain Crest, this lesson did make a major impact on other games down the line. The offense started to put together their short passing game this week, and it showed lots of promise. The defense played tough, forcing Mountain Crest into several fourth down situations, but that couldn't stop the offensive power of the kids from Cache Valley. Coach Roesler and his staff tried to use the game to teach and inspire their young team, but it doesn't matter how much you learn from a loss, they always hurt, and this game was no different for the Bees. Now their challenge was to get back on their feet to face Ogden in Week 5. Going into the Ogden game, Box Elder knew that they had to come out with a win if they wanted to stay on the plus side. They were 2-2 on the season and had as one of their major goals that they wanted to have a winning season. With that in mind, a loss at Ogden would put them below 500 and in trouble in the region, but they didn't have to worry. They jumped out to a 16-0 lead as Burke Hollingsworth blocked a Tiger punt, which Cole Beecher returned to the 6. Steve Graves scored from there to put the Bees ahead. Their second score came when they got the ball back deep in their own territory as they marched 79 yards for the score. The 16-play drive ate up most of the second quarter as Box Elder kept the ball out of the Tigers' hands. Joe Stewart scored to give the Bees a 14-0 lead. Later, Ogden would try a sweep from deep on their side of the field, and Box Elder caught them in the end zone for a safety. The Bees became somewhat conservative at that point and held on for the victory. The defense shut down the run, and Cole Beecher, Matt Maddox, and Hans Peterson all intercepted Tiger passes. Russ Juber was the defensive player of the game with 5 tackles, 5 assists, 2 deflections, and a fumble recovery. The Bees were now 3-2 and were excited about their potential. They now had to get set to meet the Scots from Ben Lomond.
Somehow the wires uncrossed, the tables were turned. Never knew I had such a lesson to learn. I'm feeling good from my head to my shoes. Know where I'm going and I know what to do. I tidied up my point of view. I got a new attitude. I'm in control, my worries are few. 'Cause I can look like I'm on the
The Scots ran a wishbone, and Box Elder had worked all week to shut down their game. The defense was superb as the Bees took the ball away 10 times with 4 fumbled recoveries and 6 interceptions. Cole Beecher and Matt Maddox both pilfered 2 Ben Lomond passes. The Scots had put together a fake dive roll pass that the Bees were waiting for, and that was where most of the interceptions came from. Box Elder gained 200 yards on the ground in their own right, but they struggled with execution in the second half as they had 11 penalties called on them after the break. But even with the problems they faced, the Bees hung in there and added another notch to their belts as they advanced their season record to 4-2.
Somehow the wires uncrossed, the tables were turned. Never knew I had such a lesson to learn. I'm feeling good from my head to my shoes. Know where I'm going and I know what to do. I tidy up my point of view. I got a new attitude. I'm in control, my worries are few. Horses along, I got a new attitude.
Possibly the most memorable game of the season came on a Wednesday night in Week 7. Bear River, the number 2 team in the state, came to Brigham City ready to take on the upstart Bees, but once again the boys from Box Elder went on a bear hunt and came back successful. Bear River scored quickly in the first quarter, but Box Elder answered with a 90-yard kickoff return for a TD by Matt Maddox. Bear River came back with a long run to jump back out in front 13-7, but the Bees grabbed the lead when Berto Rodriguez took a pitch out 25 yards into the end zone. Box Elder now led 14-13, and the game belonged to the Bees. It was apparent that Bear River did not anticipate the dedication that fueled the fire in the eyes of the Box Elder players. At one point, they even tried a fake punt on their own 20, confident that they could stop Box Elder if the play didn't work. They were wrong on both counts. The play didn't work, and Box Elder turned it into a quick 6 points. The defense was hot all night, allowing the Bears only 157 yards during the game. Of that total, Bear River could only get 14 of them in the fourth quarter. Joe Stewart was the offensive player of the game with 176 yards rushing, including 2 exciting 49-yard touchdown runs. Robert Cunningham was selected as the defensive player of the game. Now, with a record of 5-2, Box Elder had knocked off the supposed king of the mountain, and they had assured themselves of a winning season. But they still had other goals to achieve, and they began to look forward to their game with Skyview. Following the Bear River game, Box Elder had a bye, which meant that they went 18 days between games. In spite of all that they had done to stay sharp, it was almost like starting over again when they took the field against Skyview. But the Bees jumped out to a 21-0 halftime lead before they started to get conservative and let Skyview back in the game. With the score close at 21-14, Box Elder took over the ball on their own 25-yard line and put together a fourth quarter drive that ate up the remaining time and put the game away in the win column. It might not have been a pretty second half, but Box Elder was now 6-2. Berto Rodriguez had earned 127 yards on 22 carries, while Joe Stewart picked up 90 yards on 14 carries. Shea Quintana and Berto Rodriguez were both honored as the offensive players of the game, while Bill Morrell and Matt Maddox both earned defensive honors. Morrell had 7 solo tackles and an interception, while Maddox put together a great defensive effort with 5 pass deflections. The win against Skyview was the final regular season game for the Bees. Their 6-2 record was good enough for second in Region 5 and gave them the honor of meeting top-ranked Bountiful in round 1 of the state 3A playoffs. order to keep the kids in school for a couple of more hours, the kickoff for the playoff game was delayed until 3 p.m. instead of the 1 p.m. kickoff that Box Elder had hoped for. It was the delay that they would end up regretting as a winter storm moved in and began to unload on the field just as the game began. 3 times during the first half, Box Elder turned the ball over to the Braves. Twice, Bountiful earned points to take a 10-point lead. But if there's one attribute that the Bees enjoyed this season, it was tenacity, and they continued to plug away at Bountiful. Up until the final gun sounded, Box Elder truly believed that they would win the game. The 10-6 loss eliminated the Bees from the playoffs, but their play earned them the respect of their opponents, as well as that of their fans.
Just like all the rest, I look inside and dig it out, 'cause this love was for second best. There's a raging fire in my heart tonight, growing higher and higher in my soul. There's a raging fire in the sky tonight. I wanna ride on the silver dove far into the night, till I make you take me on your mighty wings. Make you take me on your mighty wings across the sky. Take me on your mighty wings. Take me on your mighty wings tonight. Just a little luck, a little cold blue steel. I cut the night like a razor blade till I feel the way I wanna feel. There's a raging fire in my heart tonight, growing higher and higher in my soul. There's a raging fire in the sky tonight. I wanna ride on the silver dove far into the night, till I make you take me on your mighty wings.
Unfortunately for most of the teams who play in the state tournament, only one team will get to end their season with a win. Everyone else suffers a defeat in the final game of the season. But the loss to Bountiful does not tarnish the effort of the young Bees. They had managed to break in a new coaching staff, replace most of the starters lost to graduation, learn a new offense and defense, and still emerge as one of the best teams in the state. It's true that there's no championship trophy resting on the shelf at Box Elder High School, but that does not mean that these young men are not champions. Those involved in the program know of the commitment that has turned this young group of athletes into a dedicated, unselfish team, with everyone willing to sacrifice everything for his teammates. They know of the personal battles waged and won, of the challenges met and conquered. They know of the sacrifices made willingly for the good of all. That is the mark of a champion, and no one deserves that recognition more than the 1991 Box Elder Bees.